everybody, welcome to What Culture Gaming. I'm Scott, joined by Josh.
Hello, Scott.
Josh, my friend, do you like streaming?
So on it.
Rivers, streams, what do you prefer?
Rivers. Lakes, let's go lakes.
Lakes are a good time. I'll tell you what's not potentially a good time is a streaming future, but we'll find out as the future rolls out. Turns out Sony have been working on a major network streaming overhaul for the last 5 years, Josh Brown. Overhauling all of their PlayStation network tech to more accommodate a cloud-based future. This was initially mentioned in a June blog post saying that they had an upcoming cloud streaming service which is now gone into full beta, but over on Insider Gaming they've revealed Sony's full plans for the 4K streaming future of the PlayStation 5. And this is apparently called Project Cronos behind closed doors.
Great code name,
It is
Sony,
a nice
by
little
the way.
thing. I would never have guessed that.
Oh.
Project Cronos is a completely new network storage cloud service that handles up to 5 gigabytes of data with around 1 millisecond of latency, stored on custom servers. Now, neither of us know what any of that means, but it will mean that games will run very fast on cloud streaming. Now, I think this is a much bigger conversation as to how much people want cloud streaming features. Obviously, Xbox have invested in xCloud. Sony have done themselves. They bought Gaikai back in 2012 or 2011-ish, and there are, the availability of games on PlayStation Plus to be streamed. There's the likes of the Q-Lite system that's coming out later this year, which will let you do a remote play service from the PlayStation. The idea of streaming games just is a thing, is an increased thing. What do you think?
It absolutely is. Like how AI is the talking technology point in other industries. I feel like cloud streaming is the big talking point in gaming right now, as famously was pointed out by the UK's CMA, who blocked initially the Microsoft deal with Activision from going through based on the future and potential of cloud streaming. And obviously Sony has been trying to get in this space for a while, dropping things like the PlayStation TV, investing in services like PlayStation Now. For me, a cloud-based future isn't what I necessarily want, but I'm not against killing it, because I think if it can complement what we have now, if it can be additive to the gaming consoles that we already own and that will be coming in the future, then I think it's a cool option for people to have who might not be able to, say, invest in a console, but be able to jump into an Xbox app on the television or a PlayStation app on the television and get games that way. The only issue I have is when they eventually maybe say, all right, now we're replacing all of the consoles you actually like, and we're going to make you play these things streamed over the internet, and you're not going to own anything, and the internet's going to be bad, and you're going to have this lag. Because for as good as these specs might seem,
there's a little bit more to this, but yeah.
Right, okay, they've said, companies have said they've had really good infrastructures in the past, and the reality has never been quite there.
No, it's always going to come down to whatever your individual internet speed is, and even then, I pay for I think it's 150 meg or something at home. It never hits that. I'm not going to call out the service particularly, but it never hits that. And I always feel like internet as connections are very unreliable. Even right now, as we're recording this, our own office internet dips all the time. It's just one of those things that even though they plan for the best possible scenario, everyone's individual internet packages or whatever aren't necessarily going to match up. I don't know if that's the case for a lot of people, but it definitely is for me.
Well, this is it. I feel quite lucky because I don't have the best internet in the world, but I can enjoy streaming on the PlayStation right now. I've streamed a lot of PlayStation 3 games in the past, quite twitchy action games, including the God of War trilogy and Devil May Cry and whatnot, and I've had a good time. Is it as good as downloading a game onto the console itself and playing off it natively? No. Is it as good as what Game Pass offers, where it actually upscales those older games? No. But as an option, I'd rather take that than nothing. I'd rather stream God of War 1 than not be able to play God of War 1 at all.
My brain went to, is that even playing it? But I don't know. I just don't like streaming, so that's where I am. So throw a couple more things in here. It's just worth saying that the new, whatever they end up calling this thing overall, if they do give it a specific name, like I said, its in development name was Project Cronos, is fundamentally built around the SSD technology, around the heart of the PS5. Apparently, Sony obviously realized that they had all the guts of the system. It's way faster and whatever. They wanted to build a cloud service that would do that justice, and because of the system's architecture, and it's only going to be available to PlayStation Plus premium members. So that's only the top tier people anyway. And the plans are to launch it in full before March 2024. We're already in the financial year right now that ends next March. So apparently the full version of this will be coming before next March. Like I said, it's in beta right now. There's a 4K streaming version of this for PlayStation 5 stuff. However, I do want to drill down on the fact that they made something that only works on PlayStation 5, so that is built around PS5 SSD technology, because for me, that pretty much kills the idea of backwards compatibility services. They would have to make a version of those games. Say they want to bring back a PlayStation 2 game. that doesn't already have a PS5 version, they couldn't just do, in theory, the original version streamed on this new service. They'd have to make it work on PS5 first and then do it. It's not as easy as just emulating stuff and giving me the version of it.
It's not, but I think they already have infrastructure right now to give you those PlayStation 3 games, to give you those PlayStation 4 games. In this, from what I can tell, from what I can parse, seems to be kind of tackling the SSD problem on the PlayStation 5, because obviously that's a huge boost to the games that you play on that machine, because that SSD allows you to load into areas really fast. Some games rely on it entirely, like Ratchet & Clank. You know, I know that's come to PC now, but playing that on the PlayStation 5 in particular, like the way things load, the way world states blend without like taking a big resolution bump or anything like that is really impressive. And to accomplish that from a server that's streaming the game, probably difficult, probably tough. So I can see why they're focusing on PlayStation 5 games in particular, because you would imagine as they continue to cut off, you know, these cross-gen releases starting from Spider-Man this year and Final Fantasy 16, like that SSD is only going to become more utilized and more built around the games that are arriving. So I think it kind of makes sense for Sony to kind of get out in front of that and be like, right, this might cause a problem in streaming. Let's tackle this now and kind of future-proof ourselves.
I'm going to go full banana sandwich ridiculous at this point. Is this why there aren't that many dedicated PlayStation 5 games? Because this has been developed for 5 years, and they need them all to work with this new service.
No.
Why
I'm
not?
going to say no. I'm going to say
Josh?
no on that. I think that would be crazy. And then Sony's crazy, right? But they're not nuts enough to, I think, build PlayStation 5 games with this in mind. I think this is always going to come afterwards. It's the same with the Vita. It's the same with this Project Q. It's the same with the PSVR 2. Like, all of this stuff is all additive to their core ecosystem, in my opinion. They always seem to prioritize that, and I think the reason that we haven't seen more PlayStation 5 games is that PlayStation 5s were difficult to get until this year, and I think for them it probably made more financial sense. Dude, Andy, they were difficult until this year, Scott Telford, when they finally announced that they were actually readily available and the parts shortage had caught up. So I think that would be the reason for me. I know I've just poo-pooed your reason there.
No,
I think that might be the one.
That's what I want you to do. I want it to be a more valid thing than me going tinfoil hat. Is this why the generation hasn't kicked off yet? Because we're waiting to jump into a generation of streaming instead, which isn't what I want.
This is it. This is what I kind of want to... I mean, I might be naive. I might be here thinking, like, they're not going to go all in on streaming right now. I'm sure in the future,
I think so,
a streaming future will be a reality. I think, you know, we will be playing streaming games as much as we are playing them off the machine. But right now, I just don't think it's there. And I think while they're obviously... both companies, all companies across the gaming industry and beyond are pushing into this realm, I just don't quite think the technology is there yet to completely supplant other games or build those games around these.
I'm very much critiquing the tree that has yet to grow from the seed that they're barely planting at this point. But I do think this is the way the industry is going, or it'll be the experiment that the industry does, like with everything that's happening with AI. We're just going to see what happens with all that stuff, see how it lands, and then see what the new normal is in another 10, 15 years' time, or whatever it is. And because of the way that Xbox are doing their thing, and because you have Phil Spencer talking about the idea of an Xbox app on a television or whatever at some point in the future, I just think that's what they're going to try. They're going to try giving you a PlayStation app, an Xbox app, on your smart TV, just on one of those things next to the Netflix app or whatever. I think they'll try that stuff, and there's been versions of that tried in the past, like we mentioned Gaikai before. PlayStation TV was quite similar to that, or the idea of it anyway. And on the Xbox side, they let you sync your controller with the server itself to minimize latency and things like that. So there are attempts made to let you just pick up a controller, beam it to the TV, and just play a video game. I think that's where they want to get to.
And that's why I'm kind of not worried about this completely changing the foundations of gaming as we know it, because
I'm terrified, Josh.
Because they've tried that so many times before, and people have either rejected it or the technology hasn't been there. I mean, how many things did you just reel off? How many things do they have in development? You know, how many things has the competition got in development? Remember when Microsoft said Crackdown 3 would be the best game of all time because it was based around the cloud? Like, we've had these promises for years. We've had these baby steps for years. So I see this as just another one of those. If it makes my PlayStation Plus premium subscription more worthwhile, I'm here for it. I kind of view it as that rather than a seismic thing almost.
No, definitely right now it's just something that they're trying. I just think it's interesting that they've had about 5 years worth of development time on this, when at the same time there are various leaked comments from Jim Ryan commenting on the likes of Game Pass, saying that they don't necessarily view it as a competitor. Game Pass kind of going hand in hand with the idea of streaming, a streamable library that gets updated every month in a similar vein as to the likes of Netflix or different video services that roll out every month. I just think it's an interesting turning point right now and getting in on there. Like I said, we're talking about potential trees that are going to come from these kind of seeds, but we'll see what happens in the next few years. For now, I'll put a little video here in regards to something to do with PlayStation, but I've been Scott from WhatCulture.com.
I've been Josh from WhatCulture.com.
Catch you next time. Bye. Aggressive, that.
It was.
Catch you next time.
Catch you next time.
See ya.